Hey guys, Peter Steele here, back with another video, and we're taking another look at the famous Dev Diaries, and yes, it's Russia for the third time! As you may have noticed, the ahistorical options for the new Russia tree were somewhat missing, except for alternative communist paths, but never fear! In this one, we'll finally get to see some of the good stuff, so let's hop right in. Let's start off with the Exiles. The Exiles, or the so-called White Movement, is not exactly in a great shape in 1936. They got a lot of international support during the Russian Civil War, but in the end, as we all know, the Bolsheviks ended up defeating the loose and diverse anti-communist coalition, or the White Movement, and, well, the only thing those guys really agreed on was that the communists were bad. Anyway, in their new focus tree, they are planning to show us something of that White Movement. The only real concentration of White Movement exiles anywhere near the Soviet Union in any position at all to do anything, yes, I know I'm using the word anything a lot, would have been in Manchuria. I believe Harbin is where most of those refugees fled to, which by the 1930s was invaded and occupied by the Japanese. So if any anti-Soviet uprising was to take place, it would happen in the old white-controlled areas of the Far East and Siberia, very far away from the tightly controlled industrial areas in the far west of the Soviet Union, and of course where Japanese equipment and support would be easiest to get to. So let's take a little look at what they have for us. That looks actually quite juicy. Let's see if I can get this thing to zoom in properly. There we go. So this beaten but not defeated looks like a very interesting branch. Looks like you'll be focusing a lot on trying to pull together what remains of the White Movement into something of a coherent bloc to try and oppose the Soviets. I like that you can do some stuff with the church here, rebuild the Savior Cathedral. You will be organizing some stuff, trying to get generals back into the fold. The Black Hundreds, the women's fascist movement, okay. Sabotage, request imperial protection. I'm gonna assume that the Japanese aren't going to be giving anything away, so this actually looks quite extensive. And down here we can choose between a Romanov reconstruction, I like myself some monarchism, and the eagle here, we all know what that means, the brown shirts, and war goals. War goals ooh, I like that, the third Rome. Am I going to be able to form my Roman Empire? Who knows? Let's read what they have to say. So apparently, obviously, the only way to effect drastic change by the mid-1930s is through civil war. And in many ways, the build-up to that civil war will be similar for the new paths as it would be for the communist opposition build-ups. Though, of course, you will have to look for your support elsewhere. The Red Army is very, very politicized, so it's going to be hard to actually get a large following there. And we will obviously not be getting any support from the NKVD either, but there are options. Looks like I said before, it's going to be building, I think, women's fascist movement. It's going to be manpower related. National unification looks like free factories. You'll be picking up advisors, equipment, factories, manpower, and national spirits throughout this tree, all the way down to the bottom. The hands do. This is where you fire your invasion and you oppose the Reds to the death. So yeah, that part of the branch will revolve around various ways in which you prepare for the Civil War. Like I said, obtaining equipment, units, factories, national spirits, decisions, and even some advisors for when you finally try and beat the Russians. Well, the Reds. And much like the other paths, you will be able to start spreading out your influence, starting out in the Far East throughout the Soviet Union, trying to ready some states when you do rise up, so you get a little bit of control around the Soviet Union. But despite all this, the devs do state the Soviets are in charge. They've had 20 years to consolidate their power, and it's gonna be a challenge. This is one of the examples where we can approach Semyonov, and he will be an advisor and a field marshal. This also would give us the decision to recruit some extra cavalry divisions. I don't know how useful those are going to be in the current game. They're pretty bad unless you have the right traits for it, but who knows, with the change to supply and combat mechanics and a lot of the fighting being in the Far East, cavalry might be quite handy for the region. And another way for preparing for the continuation of the counter-revolution and undermining communist support is to try and get the church on your side. Many of the Orthodox Church's bishops, I believe they're called metropolitans, had already fled rather than try to cooperate with the very atheist government of Stalin, while some others stayed. I believe Sergei, the patriarch from the Russian communist tree, is the one who eventually decided to work with the Russians. That did not go over well with the rest of the church. A bit of a struggle there. A lot of metropolitans broke communion with him, and despite that proclamation, Stalin still burned his church down. So yeah, that opens up opportunities though. We can gather support from the church outside of the Russian borders, and of course we can promise to rebuild the glorious Cathedral of Christ the Savior in Moscow. That should get us some support from the faithful, and many of those decisions to reliant on this part of the focus tree will be trying to return faith and religion to a central position in the Russian society. Hopefully with some rewards along the way. And it's not a lot of focuses, but it's a nice touch. It's a nice touch. I like that they didn't forget how important the Orthodox Church is to the Russian people. And of course, all that buildup leads to something. The hands do the Russian Civil War. Yeah, that's gonna be it's gonna be a challenge. I think I'm very much looking forward to this. I like hard modes. Definitely want to try and free the motherland of the communist specter, so our children may one day live free, or well, they're free to live under someone else's boot. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's not going to be easy, and the Soviets will enjoy a tremendous military and industrial advantage, so you'll have to be clever about it. Fortunately, you will be able to acquire some foreign aid, though yeah, how much that's going to be is up in the air. And then the final ace in the hole, as they're calling it, you can swallow your pride and make the Japanese an offer they cannot resist: the elimination of a rival power to their northwest, the USSR, major territorial gains on the Pacific coast, which implies we'll be giving away stuff like Vladivostok, and even the installation of a subject regime in the power vacuum their rival's corps would create. I hope this isn't going to be about setting our Russia up as a puppet, but it's up in the air. I don't know. I'm interested in seeing just how badly you'll have to sell your soul to the Japanese, but I think we can do it without them. Of course, it is helpful to have a major on your side, even if it is Japan. Still, looks like a very high price to pay. And of course, once you win the Civil War, you'll have to consolidate your power. The Tsar returns, and the White Provisional Government once again has a Romanov to call the shots. Or rather, they will have a Romanov to call the shots. Once you finish the focused Zemsky Sobor, we will elect the Tsar to his position. I believe the Vladimir Kirillovich is the only real legitimate heir left at this point, since he wasn't actually in Russia at the time of the Great Revolution, so he wasn't shot in some basement. Glorious indeed, the return of the Tsar. So these focuses all revolve around rebuilding the country, bringing people back home who left, and it goes in two directions after that. You have the Romanov reconstruction. They call it a constitutional monarchy, but it's more of an absolutist Romanov rule focused on reconquering lost parts of the empire, such as the Baltics, Finland, and many other parts of the region, eventually leading to a glorious pan-Slavic nation. All Slavs united under Mother Russia. On the right side, we have, well, a right path, the fascist branch, where you dismantle the Zemsky Sobor and you install the Tsar as a puppet for your fascist government. And they take it in a slightly different direction. Of course, you still want whatever you lost, where it's feasible, but you set your sights more on the east than on the west. You will rebuild the Eastern Fleet. You will try to steal, or rather reacquire, some land from the Japanese after the Lost War of 1905, and there are options for Eastern expansion and intervention in the Americas. And I see there, restore the old empire, and if I'm not mistaken, that's Alaska. So if you want to undo the Alaska Purchase, here's your chance. Now, all in all, I quite like the branch here. This gives us a lot of options. The Pan-Slavic Nationalism here just annexes a lot of stuff, provided, of course, you've convinced those countries to join. Pretty much like the Bulgaria deal or the big Yugoslavia deal, I believe. But of course, you will have to spend a lot of political power. Once again, everything costs PP. And then there is a third alternative where you emphasize the role of the church in the new nation. Choosing the spiritual path will elevate the Metropolitan of Harbin to the leader of the nation and opens up the ability to claim Russia's rightful place as the only true heirs of an empire long gone, the Third Rome. And these are some juicy bonuses. Though I'm not sure I want to kick the Romanov we just got out in favor of a priest, even if he gets to call himself the Archpatriarch, which is kind of baller. And then all the way at the bottom, we finally get to see a bit of a reveal about the flags they were teasing in the previous Dev Diary. The Soviet Union might be able to fragment a little bit. It looks like, yeah, that's a lot of countries popping up from the corpse of the Soviet Union, and it looks like a lot of new releasable nations will be given cores for you to chip away at via the peace deals. Though I like the idea of this, but I don't really play for that long. Once I win the war, it's over for me, but this might be very fun. I like this. More choice is good. And it looks like they even add some formable nations specifically for those countries that can break away from Russia, giving you the option, for example, to reform Idel Ural. I have no idea what it is, but you can reform it. Now, of course, they do say this tree is still being actively worked on. Everything here is not 100% representative of the final release. If there are things you disagree with, I hardly recommend you take it up with the devs on the forums. They are very open to constructive criticism. For instance, my personal peeve with what they've shown us here is there is no democratic path. There is no way to restore the Republic. Even if it was very short-lived, it was a thing between the Soviet takeover and the fall of the empire. There was a Russian Republic. So I would like to see some way of getting that back. That option isn't there right now, but it might if enough people take up that call to arms. But once again, criticism is to be constructive, otherwise you're just bullying the devs for what is looking to be one of the best focus trees they've ever delivered on. And yes, it's not quite as extensive as the communist branches, this new alt history path, but it's very nice nonetheless. I like it, and I do hope it gets a bit more expanded upon, but I am very positive so far. And let me see if I can get this all the way into the frame, because oh my god, is this a big one? The final focus tree, the entirety, yeah, it's clipping. it's just too big. Let's do some panning. This is the entire focus tree for the Soviet Union as it is right now in development. No, those are countries. As it is right now in development. Look at the size of that thing. This was worth waiting for, I'd say. This was definitely worth waiting for. Now, I know, it's a lot of focuses, so let's hope a lot of these are short. They already have said many of these will be 35-day focuses, and you're not supposed to do all of them anyway, so you will have to make choices. But let's just take a moment here and appreciate what kind of focus tree they made us here. It's lovely. I love this. I absolutely love this. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, consider subscribing, and hit that bell icon to be notified whenever I upload more content. If you didn't like it, that's fine. Just hit that dislike button and tell me in the comments what I did or said wrong. Always looking to improve. And if you want to support the channel and help me out here, you can check out the YouTube membership. It's down there. It's that join button next to the subscribe button. It will take you to the membership page. It has all the information you need. Anyway, I hope to see you in the next one. This has been me, Bitter Steel. Goodbye.